Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good to see you guys coming in. Hey, Kathy, you are number one in here tonight. All right. God bless. And Deputy Sheriff, number two. There we go. Absolutely. Aw, he says, Kathy, congratulations on being the first to write. Amen. Hey, Lisa, number three. Number three. All right. And PG's little girl is number four. There you go. Hey, God bless. Much love. Good to see everybody in here tonight. Hey, Justice 111. Good to see you, sweetie. And let me see who else. Hey, Suzanne, there you are, girl. Just a small town girl. Patty, how you doing, sweetie? Hey, Rhonda. Good to see you. Patty Allen. Good to see everybody in here. Oh, Anna, how you doing, sweetie? Hey, PG. Oh, that is so beautiful. She sent me flowers. God bless you, girl. God bless you. All right. A lot going on over the last few days, right? It's been a busy week. Busy week. All kinds of things coming out on all different cases, right? Whole lot of things coming out on different cases. So we're going to be covering a few things tonight, not just one thing or another. We're going to be covering a few things on different cases as we go through tonight. Patty Ponytail says, PG, Mods, chat, happy Sunday. God bless, much love. Hey, girl, God bless, much love to you. You know it. Oh, that is so sweet, Miss Justice. That is absolutely, you guys are so kind to one another. God bless you. But anyway, yeah. So let's get started. Let's just get started because there's a lot going on, whole lot going on. Jack and Lily's case. We got Daniel, right? We got Daniel coming out and he's talking about, who searched for 20 minutes and found it. It doesn't fly where the boot print was located, 1,000 feet away. And he's talking all of these things, right? In the Jack and Lily's case. Well, I understand there was only one footprint that could actually be identified. Here it is. Who searched for 20 minutes and found it? And then he says it doesn't fly to where the boot print was located at 1,000 feet away. Come on. Who happens to stumble upon it? Then he says, I'm the one that told media we were seen the day before. I released the blanket evidence and still people think the worst. I'm truly sad. They don't want to put pressure on yet. They're building evidence. So he must think that they're building evidence against the mother or, I would, or somebody. He's got somebody in mind or he wouldn't have said it. He's talking about the mother was normal the night before. She put the kids in bed. I worked on the fence with his mom, with mom. By the way, you don't take one polygraph exam. You do multiple back-to-back to check for inconsistencies with baseline, etc. I completed 3. So he's saying that, they gave him like 3 back-to-back polygraphs to, compare against each other to truly see if he was telling the truth or not, is what he's trying to say. I wasn't there, so I don't know. Um, you know, but the footprint that was supposed to be found like on some um, ridge line, like 1,000 feet away, I, to my understandings, they really couldn't confirm. They couldn't confirm, whose print that was, um, at all. So they did confirm, I guess, the one that was found in the yard with the grandmother. But the grandmother came out too, and um, something must be given up a little bit in this case because um, Daniel is actually getting to visit up with his daughter. Isn't she adorable? Isn't she absolutely adorable, you guys? She is beautiful. Absolutely. Jack and Lily's beautiful too. But this little baby here, I think she looks a lot like Daniel, but she's got her mother's eyes. She's got her mom's eye color, it looks like. And kind of a mixture between the mom and him. But you could definitely see him in this child, right? You could see him in her. But, I'm glad to, I mean, if he is innocent and really didn't have anything to do with whatever happened to these kids, um, I'm glad to see that he's getting to, spend time with his own child. So, oh yeah, oh yeah. There's quite a few of these isolated area, missing children type things going on here recently, right? There's been a lot of that. Um, I was, I guess it's an old case, but I think I can remember, hearing about it somewhere. But where a mother, they was looking for a young girl, and then dad supposed to have custody of the little girl, and they put out a missing, report on her. And it took him quite a long time to get fined and get his daughter back. But she was okay because she was with the mom. A lot of times missing kids, um, sometimes it's, parents and grandparents and, kind of a family type feud, some kind of feud going on. And the, um, child ends up, actually abducted by whoever's disputing over it. And, and that's how they get gone. But when you've got all the parents there and, and the family there and nobody seems to have the child, whoa, then there's a problem. Then there's a problem, like Summer's case and Jack and Lily's case and, so many other children's cases, right? Um, it isn't, it's like whatever happened to the child, whatever happened, um, can't be good. It can't be good when there's not, another relative involved that may have, got it and took it off somewhere. Oh yeah, she is absolutely adorable. She is adorable. But, I wanted to let you guys know because if they're going to if they're going to, open the door and let him start to be able to visit with his daughter, get some visitation with his child, then, they obviously haven't got, anything solid that leads law enforcement to believe, you know, to believe enough to keep him, to keep him at bay or the mother at bay from the child. Now, I don't know if the mother's able to see the child or not. I understand that Child Protective Services has took the child into custody, and neither parent had access to the child. And, I don't know if the mother is able to visit up with the child or not. It seems like Daniel is able to see the child. He put it out there, you know. He's already put it out there and let people know that he's getting to see his daughter, that the door's been open. I don't know if it's been open for the mother yet or not. You know, she's pretty quiet. The mother is pretty quiet. Um, you know, hey, forgive me not. Good evening. Good to see you. Deputy Sheriff says, forgive me not. Hello, hello, hello. But yeah. Oh, they had a lot of dogs outside, right? That's like the Wells case. That's like Don and Candace Wells case. They had a lot of big dogs, like not little dogs. They had a ton of, medium size and or bigger, some really good sized dogs up there. And I just don't think anybody's going to be coming on some property with 10, 15 dogs, that size of dogs. They're not just, no way. I mean, nobody wants to no one wants to risk getting, you know, bit up by a pack of dogs. And that's pretty much, you know, is what was on the Wells property. It was a big pack of dogs, and dogs are very territorial. I mean, if you come on a property, to hurt anyone that lives there, and them dogs they're gonna have at you. They're gonna be having at you, no doubt. Yeah, CPS dropped the ball. I believe that CPS dropped the ball on Sebastian, on Summer, on Jack and Lily. They usually do drop the ball. They usually do. They drop the ball on kids like Jack and Lily and Summer, because they're so poor. They're so poor, and you know they just more or less they rather leave those type of kids where they're at, than to try to home them somewhere, because of the lice and the scabies, and all the stuff that comes with them. They um rather leave them you know out there with the parents, than to take them. It's going to cost the state a lot of money. It's going to cost the state a lot of money when you take children like that. But anyway, I had to open a pop. I didn't want to snap it in your guys' ears, because I know, trust me, I've had, I used to wear the, you know, earbuds and the headphones and stuff, and you hear, if somebody just talked too loud, you're like, oh my gosh, what the freak. Why are they screaming? Right? So I didn't want to snap my pop in your guys' ears, and that's not nice. But yeah, there's CPS, when it comes to the poor children, it's just really, They don't want them in their car. They don't want them in their car. They don't want to transport. You got these people that think they're better than, right? Better than. And it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Um, People are very biased. Believe it or not, they are. And, they figure that, these people is going to end up getting them back and they're just going to be in the same predicament. So why are you pulling them out of it? And putting, foster parents do a lot of, stuff, and then, they're right back where there it was anyway. And that's the way law enforcement feels. Law enforcement, I've heard so many officers say, we apprehend these criminals and we take them in and the court just turns them loose, right? The court turns them loose. And, what are we doing? What exactly, why are we stressing and working ourselves so hard when the court's just going to turn them loose? And I guess, that's the way CPS workers get too. Why are we going to try to take these kids away and give them better places and everything if the court system's just going to end up returning them back into, the hell and misery that they just came out of. So, that's what it is. The parent gets clean for a little while. They go to classes and stuff. They get clean for a little while and they show up, in court, and they get the kids back and they get the monies back, and the next thing they get their habits back, and the kids are being abused and mistreated and living in pure hell, in my opinion. And nobody seems to care, because what can you do if the court is going to, allow this person to get, clean long enough to, keep their $5 housing and their all those food stamps and everything, the money's coming in by giving the kids back. So caseworkers are like, they just leave them there. And then something really bad happens. And a lot of times, caseworkers remove the kids. They remove the kids and they put them in a different home and everything. And the parents go to court. They get the child back, and, and then the child, ends up, severely, hurt or even worse, online. And the court system just handed them back. And that deters caseworkers. It deters law enforcement. It just deters everybody. It's not our law enforcement that's broke. It's not really CPS that's broke. It's our court system that is broke, if you ask me. Our court system needs to follow the law and hand out the maximum sentences, of the law. And I think that, there shouldn't be no strike 3. It should be strike, 1, where if CPS takes the kids and the family gets the child back, or if Child Protective Services shows up and says, clean it up, this place is a pigsty. You need to, clean it up and keep it clean. If we come back here again, the kids are going to be taken. I don't think there should be no strike 3. I think it should be strike 2, and the kids are permanently placed somewhere where people will love them, care about them, and raise them righteously. That's my opinion. I don't think there should be no strike 3. There should be 1, to, and the kids are gone, and it's no getting them back. Maybe if parents knew that you don't treat your kids right, you're going to permanently lose them. It ain't going to be no get clean for a few days, show up at court, get them back, and go back to the way you was before. If they understand that, then I think that these parents might clean up forever, right? They might be really afraid to mess up again. But this court system needs to get tougher. The court system, if law enforcement chases down criminals and arrests these criminals, and and they show up in the courtroom, well, the court system should have enough respect for the hard work that law enforcement did to give the person the most stiffest sentence, so that they can stay behind bars if the crime is stiff enough, and at least stay behind bars long enough to not want to do any crimes again if they get out. People don't learn by giving them a slap on the wrist. Nobody learns by giving them nobody learns. I don't think timeout teaches anyone anything. I think timeout is a joke, if you ask me. I think it's a joke. I don't believe in laying hands on your child. I don't believe in that. I think sometimes, a child might need, a spanking. And when I say spanking, that's why God gave them the little backside. And I don't mean, be abusive. A little tap, and, you don't do this again, I think would teach them just fine. People take it to extreme. They take it, that's why they want the timeout now. It's because, you've got these people who take it to extreme, and they don't know, their own strength or whatever, and they're just too heavy-handed, and it's not right. It's not right. If you can't do things righteously, don't do it at all. I agree with that. But, I don't think timeouts teaching anybody too much, in my opinion. That's my opinion. These kids are this timeout generation is just way out of control. Teenagers are worse now than they've ever been in history. Ever. Right? And so I don't think timeout's working. Just saying. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, like the grandmother. This poor lady here, and she said this. They went out and talked to her. And she was. I know she was telling the news person. She said, when I was sitting down and I was crying because I felt. She said she had got up that morning, and and she went out and she fed her chickens. And her brother had, texted her, did she want to go somewhere? And she told him no, she didn't want to go anyplace, that she was going back to bed and to stay around the house that day. And she said that she did. She went back to bed. She got up early and then, fed the chickens and stuff. And she said she laid back down, went back, laid down. She's old. She's an older woman. I'm sure she probably did need to lay back down and get some rest. But But she said that, she heard the children outside playing that morning, that she heard them. And she said when she sat down and she was crying, because she felt that if, she wouldn't have went back to bed and she would have stayed outside, that, these kids wouldn't have disappeared. That wasn't her job. That was not her job. Jack and Lily, had a mom, and that was their mother's job. Their mother's job is to get her ass up out of bed in the morning and take care of her children. Her job is to put her children to bed at night at a decent hour and then take herself to bed so she can get up at a decent hour and take care of her children. Not lay around in bed till, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the day. There's no sense in that. She needed to get that ass up in the morning and clean that house. If she didn't do it the night before she went to bed, she needs to get that ass up. She needs to pick up her home. She needs to get her children some food. She needs to, send them to school if they're going to school. If it's, weekend or summer break, then she needs to, make a plan. She needs to make a plan, like maybe painting, in the morning. After breakfast, the kids get to watch maybe some TV, and then maybe they get to color or paint, read story time, maybe help do some chores. They get lunch. After lunch, maybe they get to go outside, right, and play in the afternoon, sun and do some stuff outside. And then they, need to come back in and help, help get dinner on the table, right? And maybe they can get a snack, watch some more TV, get their dinner. Maybe, they could have family time, play some games, maybe go for a walk, do something, maybe go to the park, or even for a drive, just to get out of the house, go for a drive, do something. And, get back home. She needs to, give the kids a bath and get them in their jammies, give them a little snack and get them ready, ready for bed, right? They need to be ready for bed, and at bedtime they need to be put in their beds. It's called routine. It's called a routine. And, she didn't seem to have them on one. She didn't have herself on one, did she? She didn't have herself on a routine. She didn't get up in the morning and make breakfast and clean up the kitchen and clean up the house while watching her children, and, and then get lunch for them and, clean that up and spend some time with her kids. And, she just wasn't, she didn't have herself in a routine as well. She was up in that, I don't even know what you would call that place, but she's up inside of whatever it is there, laying around. Basically, in my opinion, she's laying, she's lazy, laying around, stinking up the place, right? Just stinking up the place. She wasn't moving around, getting no fresh air to chase the stench off of her ass, and airing that backside out. You can't air your backside out laying around in a bed or a chair or sofa or somewhere all day long doing freaking nothing, right? And that's the problem with our world today. I'm not going to lie. You got a whole lot of lazy people, these mothers and dads. You got a whole lot of lazy people just wanting to lay around, do nothing. They ain't no go-getters. I mean, the old folks could work a damn ring around these young people today. The old folks, the old folks got up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and and They got breakfast, they got lunch, they got dinner. They washed clothes. They worked, and they still was able to run a whole household and make sure that everybody was eating 3 square meals a day, still making sure everybody had snacks. They still made sure that the whole entire house was corner to corner clean, beds were made. These people applied themselves. They had pride in what they were doing, and they wasn't afraid of hard work. They weren't afraid of hard work. These people today want everything packed to them. They don't want to go get nothing, right? Grocery store delivery, you know, door dashes, all the, bring it to me. I don't even want to get up to go get it. They're too lazy to get up and go get it. This is a horrible freaking world. A lot of lazy ass people. Right? I'm going to tell you, baby, if you don't use it, you will lose it. Just saying. Just saying, you guys. I personally, I don't like laziness. Idle hands is the devil's playground, right? Idle hands is the devil's playground. I'm going to tell you, people don't just have idle hands today. They got an idle whole freaking body. They got everything all idled up. Just saying. Hey, you know what, Anna? I tell you the truth. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I'm even for them taking away. I mean, why are they giving people tax credits to raise their own children? That tax money should be, going somewhere else. It shouldn't be going in the pockets of people to raise their own kids. If you have a kid, it's your job to raise it. It's your job to work a job and raise your children, just like all the old folks did for hundreds of years. Nobody went and handed them money, free money to raise their own kids. It's their kids. They need to raise it. Our country is already in enough debt. And all of that money could go to pay off the debt instead of going in the pockets of all these people to raise their kids. That's just BS if you ask me. That's, my opinion. You have a kid, you're responsible for it. I don't care what shape the child's in. I don't care, it's your child. It's your child. You need to raise it. You don't want to raise it, well, give it to somebody else to raise. Right? But they shouldn't. What I'm saying is, no, it would stop a lot of child abuse if they would quit giving people money for children. It would really eliminate a lot of child abuse, because then these people holding on to kids just for the money, abusing them, holding on to them and then abusing them just for the money, well, they would let other people have them, right? They wouldn't keep them, and they would, let them go and let people give those children a better life. You'd be surprised at how many people hold on to children and abuse them. They really don't want them, but they're holding on to them and they're abusing them to get that free housing, to get that free money, to get those food stamps, to get, that big tax breaks. They're, and it all needs to stop. It needs to stop. You want to put a stop to a whole lot of child abuse? Stop all the free stuff. If you have a child, that's your child. Work a job and raise it. If you can't work a job and raise it, well, you just have to go to the poorhouse, right? And you're going to have to help work in the garden and cook in the kitchen and, you know, and live in a poorhouse until you can get out of the poorhouse and back on your feet. People did it for many, many years, right? They did it for many, many years. They have to do it again. But we got to stop. We can't afford to keep up everyone, you know, like, in my opinion, other countries ain't none of our business. Nobody's helping us do nothing. Why are we helping everybody else? Right? Like when the big C word happened, there wasn't nobody helping us. We had to, you know, we had to use our ingenuity and, you know, and do everything we could to survive, right? We had to real quick do everything to survive. Nobody came to our aid. And we need to quit going to everyone else's. And we need to quit, you know, we need to quit handing people free monies. I'm not for the free money thing. But to be honest with you, there's really no American people. There's really not any real American people, you know, left on the system. Most of the free housing and everything is, you know, been given to, you know, foreign people. You know, foreigners have come here and all of that's been given to them, and all the food stamps and stuff is given to them. Everything's been given to them. So there's really not real American people. They have to work a job. They have to work. If they make 1 cent over, you know, over what the, you know, guidelines are, then they don't get, you know, they don't get anything. And a lot of them get nothing, you know, and they only get like child care for so long. They only, you know, it really, what's left for the real American people ain't worth getting anyway. It ain't worth having. So they might as well just stop it all. I mean, it ain't going to hurt no real Americans is what I'm saying. Real Americans have been, you know, eliminated from all of that stuff. I mean, actually, I don't think any real Americans even work for the system anymore. That's my opinion, if you ask me. Because, like, you know, if you're an advocate, say that you're an advocate for people, you know, to help people. If you're an advocate and you know, and you try to help people, you know, through the church or whatever, you try to help people in different places, you know, seek and get help and so forth and so on, right? You're a good Samaritan. And you call different states, you know, trying to figure out, you know, where this certain person can get, you know, some type of help for them and their family during a crisis or time of need. You don't hear no American talking on that phone. You hear, you know, you hear basically, you know, somebody that you know, can barely freaking speak English, if you ask me. That's my opinion, you know. So, as far as the welfare systems and all of the housing systems and all of this stuff goes, man, I'm gonna tell you what, they done those other people have done moved in and moved the American people out, right? Like if you freaking wanted, it's like for English press 1. Well, if I didn't press anything, what the hell am I going to get? I would think if it's for, I would think it's if you speak English, stay on the line. And then, it should be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 or whatever for, for other people that don't. But if you speak English, you've got to push to 1. Right? Not that I'm too lazy to push 1. Right? I just want to know who the fuck don't have to push nothing. Right? That's the only thing that bothers me. I just want to know who don't have to push anything. Hey, spread love. I appreciate that, girl. Super sticker. All right. I appreciate you supporting Summer's channel. God bless. But yeah, Anyway, I didn't come in here to talk about politics. That's for sure. I'm going to tell you, I try to, head tail in the other direction on all that stuff. Every 4 years, we get into enough of that, right? To last me the next 4. All right. That's the truth. I mean, I didn't have no problem. I didn't have no problem with, paying my taxes and Americans, real American people getting, yeah, press 2 for PG. That's right. I didn't have any problems with real American people getting assistance to help, keep up their children or the free housing and stuff like that. Because, it's real American tax dollars is paying for it. And I don't mind, I feel like that's my 10%, right? I feel like that's my 10%. God says, we're supposed to pay 10%, right? To help other people. And I felt that, that was my 10% to help other folks. And, so I didn't care. I didn't care to pay those tax dollars. And, if it's going to American families to help them through tough times and, and put a little extra food on the table and give a few extra things they need. I don't believe in limits. I believe if you give somebody something, don't tell them what they can do with it. Don't tell them how they can spend it. Don't tell them they can't buy pop, they can't buy chips, they can't buy this or they can't buy that. I don't think it's anybody's damn business what they buy. I mean, here's how I feel. Those kids have birthdays too. And I don't like to think that mother couldn't buy their child a birthday cake. I don't like to think that mother can't buy a birthday cake, some chips, and soda for their child to have a party. Why should their child, be exempt from having a birthday party while everybody else's kids are? Why? If you're going to tell people, what they can do with it, I think that, those people who really need it should just get an extra job and tell everybody what they can do with it, to be honest with you. What I'm saying is I think that, this world's wanting too damn much control in everybody's life. And I don't know why. I don't know why everybody wants to try to live everyone else's life. They do good. You know, the Bible tells you to sweep your own stoop first, right? Clean your own home, sweep your own doorway, take care of your own self. And then if you have enough time left, well, okay, you can put, you know, then you can put your nose in someone else's business, you know. Oh, hold on a second. I've got, hey, Phoebe. Yeah, okay. That's what I wanted to know. Hey, Maddie, how you doing, sweetie?
Hello, good. How are you?
Good to see you, girl. When you come
You
backstage,
too.
when I have content back there, like I have the first roll, second roll taken up, and you're way
Oh.
down. If I don't scroll down, I can't see you. I can't, you know, that's,
I
so I
thought
have to,
so.
I scroll down every so often to see, you know, to see if anyone's there, but I seen you pop up in the back chat, leave a
I
message
wasn't sure if
there.
it was the whole chat. I can't say the whole chat yet.
Well, you're on stage now.
Yeah, I can't
On
see what
panel.
people are saying though. Doesn't matter.
Oh, you got to hit because when you come into the back there, you have where you can see backstage, and then it'll have a place where you can, if you press it, it'll say comments, and it'll put you
Oh
out front
yeah. Yeah, I
where
got
you
it up
can,
now.
yeah, where you can see everybody and what they're saying. Yeah, that's how it works, hon.
And then it says connect your YouTube account to join.
Right.
It might log me out though.
Right.
I can see what they're saying though.
Yeah. Yeah. So how you
How's
been,
your day
sweetie?
been?
Busy. Very
Busy,
busy. Yeah. I hung out with my kids today. Today's
no.
weekend, Sunday, so you know, I hung out with the kids. Very exhausting. Very exhausting. You know, I
Yeah.
woke I woke up I woke up, you know, I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday morning. Anyway, it was one of them. I woke up and I was thinking to myself, damn, I thought I was, you know, I thought I was starting to become my parents. And
Is it
and,
Sunday
and
for you, isn't it?
I'm going to tell you, girl, all of a sudden it hit my mind. My parents
Yeah.
might be my damn grandparents, right? I was, I wasn't feeling like mom or dad. I was feeling like grandma or grandpa, right?
This,
I was like, what
I
the
just went
hell?
shopping with mum.
You're right. I'm going to tell you. My
Made a whole
kids.
bunch of grandmas laugh today. They were crossing
Oh,
the
really?
road and I started laughing and so did they.
It
It's
sounds like you had
hilarious.
fun, girl.
It's
Right?
nice and sunny today here, thank gosh.
I
It's
heard
been
that.
rain. Yeah, it's been just pouring with rain.
Oh, you got plenty of rain coming down.
Yeah, at the moment.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You know, I'm
My
kind of
toe's still recovering too.
me
It's
and
been a
me
pain
and
in the butt
Ray, me and Rain
going out in
girl,
the rain
we have
with
a
it.
love and hate relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes I love the rain, sometimes I hate it.
I
Right,
love it. I love it when you're at home and it pisses down with rain.
right. But when you're out there walking or driving in it, oh my gosh, it's
It's
like
nice.
whoa.
It's nice opening up the front door in the morning and seeing the snow on the mountains.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. I'm gonna tell
But
you,
I
especially
think I made the grannies' day. All the four grannies going shopping together made their day by laughing.
yeah, out in the
They
you
had a
know
good laugh.
out in the country it's beautiful after it
Oh
rains. It
yeah, it's
just, you know,
beautiful.
it's like like you said, it just has a real clean, beautiful smell.
The little
um
cows and the sheep on the side of the
yeah,
road, little
it's
babies.
cities don't get that. Inner
Yeah,
cities
I know.
don't get that. It could pour all day long, and the city won't get, you know, won't get that freshness like out in the country, and you know, in the
The city's
mountains
too
and stuff
busy.
too. Yeah, I think, you know, it's got so much dirt, even the hardest rains can't wash it away. Right.
and it's bumper to bumper in the car, being in the city.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
You only go there if it's necessary.
I'm going to tell you, I'm like free car wash. Right.
Yeah. I went there last week because Mum had gotten my nails infilled. New infill on my nails.
She did a 160 worth of shoppers for me.
So it's nice going there though. You get to enjoy yourself and see everyone and get your feet painted.
Huh?
Anyway, sweetie, I'm going to get off. Got to make a phone call. But I hope you have a good night and everyone in your chat has a good night.
Hey, girl, I appreciate you
Sweet
coming up hanging
dreams.
out with me.
I'll
God
come and
bless you.
say hello to you sometime this week if I'm
All
home.
right. Hey, girl, I always look forward to seeing you up here. God bless and much
Yeah,
love.
you too, honey. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
Bye.
She's a sweetheart, ain't she? She is absolutely adorable. Right? I heard that, Amanda. I heard that, girl. But yeah, anyway, um, this grandmother here, she said she was crying. She was crying because, she felt like, it was her fault. She was blaming herself for not getting up that morning and staying outside where the kids were. And, I guess people might have been saying bad stuff, because she was crying. Uh, I didn't see Jack and Lily's mom crying. I mean, if she cried, I must have missed it because I didn't see her crying. This grandmother right here, it wasn't even her grandkids, but she was crying. But I'm going to tell you, they don't have to be your kids. You can get very much attached to someone else's children. You can get just as attached to other people's kids as you can your own, right? I mean, if you're around a child enough, you get attached to them. That's why a lot of people don't want to foster children because, it's too hard on them. The children come in, these little kids come in and these families take care of them and they get attached to them. And then, the parents get them back and it just breaks, it breaks the foster parents, hearts to see these kids go. And, and after a time, that kind of, wears thin on a person, right? And they quit fostering because it just gets to be too much on them. Continuing to get attached to other people's kids and have to hand them back and, so forth. I'm sure that they like some kids more than others, right? I'm sure they like some children more than others. And, but still, it's heartbreaking, to see these kids, have to go back into bad, bad places that they came out of, because you worry too. And you don't get to keep contact, to see how they're doing and to, to make sure that they're okay and stuff, you lose track of them. And, it could be a lot. It could be a real weight upon a human, after a while. I don't know if the grandmother was crying or not. She must have been, and people must have said ugly stuff, because it bothered her. It bothered her, But she was telling the news person, she lives in this camper right here. She lives in this camper and there's dogs living in there too. There's dogs inside this thing. She opened it. What the hell is that sticking out the window? I didn't even notice that. What the hell is that? Is that a stovepipe? Is that a stovepipe or like, I don't even know. I don't even know. Is that, or like one of those things on a, one of those things you look through and you can turn it, you know? What the heck is that? It reminds me, one of those things you see on a cartoon, it comes rising up, and then, SpongeBob's down below looking through the thing and seeing all the stuff. You know what I'm talking about? A freaking, like a telescope type thing. I don't know, but it's sticking out the window right there. See it? That might be a stovepipe. That might be what all that wood was for. They had a whole bunch of wood there too, didn't they? They had a bunch of wood. Look, what the heck is that? I mean, why is this big tarp on top of this thing? Don't it got a roof? Doesn't this thing come with a roof? Why would you have a big tarp on it? I don't even know. Look at that. Look at that. It looks like it needs power washed. That thing could use a power washing. Probably inside and out. Right? Yeah. Green fence. Look at that green fence. That's a green fence. They must ran out green paint back there. They must have ran out because part of the fence ain't green. Oh shit. I don't think this thing got wheels on it. Where the wheels used to be, there's wood. Whoa, somebody tried to put this thing on a wooden foundation. Look at that. They tried to put this thing on a wooden foundation. Whoa, I ain't never seen nothing like this. Yeah, look at that. Whoa. Dang. Man, right when you think you saw it all, you ain't seen nothing yet, right? Portable air conditioning. Damn, that's like a awful big portable air conditioning pipe. Look at that sucker. It looks like somebody could stick their head in it. That thing is huge. I don't know. Wow. I was thinking I think it might be attached to some kind of potbelly wood burning stove. That's, my guess. Because I did see, when we go through these pictures, you guys will see it. You see a whole bunch of wood. They have like a ton of wood. I don't even know where to get on that damn wood. Well, probably out of that forest. But anyway, here's the this is where Jack and Lily was staying in this thing right here, this big trailer thing right there. Looks like a freaking train car. Couple of them stuck together, if you ask me. That's a long ass train car. And then they put a Howdy Doody on it right there. You see that Howdy Doody right there? Where you go up and go into the door? This is the front of the house, which goes out onto the driveway. Right? And right behind there, where you see that green fence where they run out paint, that back there is where the chickens are. And that camper and grandma and the uncle. That's where they are back in there. Wow. See? There they are. Right there, y'all. And then in that side, that red thing right there, I think that's the thing that had all the wood, like a ton of wood in there. And with that thing sticking out the window, probably, that was like That's how they make their coffee and eggs in the morning. Probably some pot belly wood burning stove. That's what I'm thinking. Poor people have poor ways. Look at that. And she said she was going, you know what she said? You see this big area right there? You see that big area right there between, as you go back, right there, that big area right there? She said she's going to put a swimming pool up there. She said she was raking that area right there. She's going to put a swimming pool up. And she said, and that's the area where they found the footprint. One of the kids' footprints was right there where she was raking the night before. She said she was raking this the night before. They went missing, going to put up a swimming pool. And she said that, yeah. And she said that that's where they found the footprint, was right there. And it definitely belonged to one of the kids. And that leads out onto the driveway right there. And look at those rocks stacked up right there. Don't that kind of remind you of Don and Candace Wells going up into Utah, stacking rocks up on top of each other? You see those rocks right there stacked on each other? Right there? That's what it looks like to me. Might be something else, but it looked like some rocks stacked on each other. I'm not sure. Could be like a yard decoration, but it looks like rocks. There's the step grandma. This is the step granny right there. And she told it, you know what she told him? She said she don't like pictures when she goes out front of the place. She said she's a little afraid to go out front. She stays in the back most of the time. She said, but if she does go to the front, she keeps her head down because she don't like pictures being taken of her, and she don't, and she don't like being videoed and stuff like that. Then why you call people out there to video the shit up out of you? That didn't make no sense. Oh, I don't like pictures and videos, but I called you out here so you can, video me up and put me out there to the world. If I was a hermit and I don't like to be videoed or pictures took of me, the first thing I'm going to say is, look, I want to do this interview with you guys, and I don't mind talking with you, being heard on your video, but I don't want to be seen, right? You can do what you want to do, but I don't want the world, I don't want the world seeing me, right? But I'll walk and direct you to each point and tell you what went down. But keep the camera off me, right? That's what I would say if I'm supposed to be a hermit that don't like pictures and videos took. Some of this stuff, some of it makes sense, some of it don't. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. This is the wood. Look at all that damn wood. Look at all that wood. I'm going to tell you. That's weird right there. I mean, what did they need all that wood for? I don't even know. You guys. I mean, have they ever heard of gas and electric? Right? I mean, people don't live like that anymore. There's a chicken. There's her chicken. She had a couple really pretty chickens out there in her chicken coop. See? Whoa, come on. What's going on there? Get to the chicken. There's the chicken. Yeah. She had some really cute chickens out there. She said she came out that morning and fed them. And then she went back in. Her brother contacted her. And she didn't want to go nowhere. That she was staying home. And she said she was going back to bed. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think about that? I don't know. I kind of felt sorry for her that she said she was crying. But but I do. And she showed the, conversation between her and her brother. He did hit her up, and talk to her that morning at like at 8 something. And they had a little right there, 8:48 a.m. She talked with him like 2 minutes, 59 seconds, just to tell him, no, I don't want to go. I want to hang out at home today. And he must have been like, okay, goodbye. Um, you know, but she decided to stay home. She decided to, go back to bed. Maybe she just wasn't feeling well. Maybe she felt she needed some more sleep. I don't know. But she was, I can't believe there ain't a wheel on that freaking trailer. I can't believe they built a foundation on it. And who in the hell was able to set this thing on that? I don't even know. And that freaking pipe right there, look how it's sticking out. That's just creepy stuff. This is creepy stuff, you guys. God have mercy. And there's the dog like, let me out, right? The dog's like, let me out. I want to tell the truth. I was here that day. And there's little Jack and Lilly. I don't know, Oh, yeah. Yeah, she does. Yeah, it has to be a stove. That's what I said, Amanda. Yeah. Yeah, she definitely baths. She was telling the news people that this is Jack and Lily's swing. And if you look, you can see her camper right here. And that's where she was laying down. She said she could hear the kids out there. She heard the children out there playing. And a little while later, she hears, her son hollering for the kids. And she just thought that, he was calling the kids in. And she said, a little while after that, she got up because I guess the commotion the commotion out there must have got worse. And she got up and, she came out. And then they said, she said that Jack and Lily's mom was standing out there, out there in that, where they found the footprint. She was standing out there in the area where they found the footprint, saying that Jack and Lily's missing, and she said she went in, got, her boots on and came out and, went to looking for him. And she said she immediately went to, this area where they keep a little fort, like a little built fort. She thought maybe they went over there to play, where, because they got a little fort area back in the woods that they built. And she said they weren't there. And then she said she went up, on the ridge to the road and back down, looking for these kids. So she was, she had boots on the ground. And she said that the mom said they only been missing about 20 minutes when they started looking for them. And, so I would think if they only been gone 20 minutes, this is where she went looking first. This is a little fort that the kids have built, and the woods right there to play in, to go and play in. And she said that they're only gone like 20 minutes. So she immediately, started looking and, no, I wouldn't give 2 cents to know what the thoughts were on that, to be honest with you, Amanda. No, because here's what I know, here's what I know. I don't hold stock. I don't hold stock in, in badges. I don't hold stock in badges. because 99.9% of every case solved is solved because of a U.S. citizen like you. Just a normal, everyday citizen like you. Like, you're the one that finds out the real truth. You're the one that calls it in to the badge. And then the badge gets all the credit for it. You know, when they didn't do the work. You know, they live off those phone calls. That's how they, you know, that's how they get all their pats on the back while nobody else does. So, you know, I don't hold no stock in it at all. Just saying. But the woman was saying that all of, you know, children don't just vanish. Bridget, they don't just vanish, honey. And there's nothing up with kids just vanishing. There's something up with law enforcement not, you know, pushing hard enough to get the answers needed to solve the cases. They don't know how to treat a missing child's case as a criminal case until the child is found. When you go in there, you've got to treat the case like a criminal case and get all the evidence you can, you know, in the first few hours in order to solve the case. And instead, they go in there, you know, bullshitting around, messing up the crime scene and just doing stuff that should not have been done. And all the evidence is destroyed because they didn't know how to handle the case to begin with. And that's why a lot of people get away, you know, with doing what they do to these children. That's just, you know, that's just how it is. It's like law enforcement went out. There was one child missing they couldn't find. They went all over the property. They didn't ever. And the child was right there on the property up in some rafters. And the law enforcement didn't know anything until someone actually told, hey, that's where it's at. They were out there, you know, with search dogs, out there with, you know, cadaver dog, out there with everything. And they didn't find nothing. Like, it was right under their noses. Because they don't want to really spend the time to honestly, you know, do the job that it takes to solve these cases. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a stovepipe. Yeah. You know, they probably could disconnect it on the inside and be like peekaboo outside at you. Right? They probably could peekaboo at you from inside. They'd be looking through the pipe. You walk by and see grandma's head staring out at you, grandma's eyeballs. It'd be like some scary stuff, right? Like, whoa, what was that? Oh, wow. I was going to work this morning and a tree fell right in front of me. I heard that, girlfriend. I heard that. You got to be careful. Yeah. But this is the front of the place. And grandma said, and grandma was like, she was like, listen, because she was taking them from A to Z. She said, okay, I called you out here to come check this sliding door. You slide it. You see the bedroom's all the way there in the back. And when you slide it, they probably couldn't hear it. And it don't make a bunch of noise like all these people out there are saying it does. And not only that, But I got up early and I, had my little coffee or whatever she does in the morning. And then I came out and I fed my chickens. And then I went in, I got a call from a thing from my brother. And I told him I don't want to go nowhere today. I'm just going to hang around and I'm going back to bed. And she said she did. She laid down, went back to bed. But she heard Jack and Lily outside playing. And she said on the swings. And she said that she laid down and then she heard Daniel calling for the kids. And she figured he just wanted them in the house. And she said that Jack and Lily would always say, come on, Jack, come on, Jack, come on, Jack, if they were going, different places. She said she did not hear Lily saying, come on, Jack, at all. She heard them hollering and playing and just in one place by them swings. She said, and then she heard Daniel and the, hollering. And then when she came out, she saw, the mother standing there holding the baby saying they're missing. That's when she got her boots on and she went to looking. She said, and then when people saw her crying, she was crying because she felt guilty. That if she just, wouldn't have went back to bed and stayed up, they might not have, came up missing the way they did. She said that she went looking for those kids all over the woods herself and couldn't find them. They only supposed to be missing 20 minutes. I think that they couldn't get too far in 20 minutes. So she, and she also said that she had took the kids out in the woods and she would have to carry the little boy because he really couldn't, maneuver himself through the woods. He was just too little and she'd have to pack him many times. She'd have to pick him up and carry him. So, she's like, I don't think these kids went out there in the woods. Now, I know that this particular place right here, from what I hear through the grapevine, allegedly, this place right here was supposed to be a real party house. Put a one in the chat if you heard that. It's supposed to be a real party house, right? Lots of people partying up at this place right here. That's what I heard. I heard that, it was known for, illegal substances and big parties and gatherings and all kinds of things at this place. Now, that's what I've heard. I don't know how true it is. It's just, rumors of what I'm hearing. And now, one thing I do know about places like this, that, where you got all of these people showing up and, the party down places. Now, I know that a lot of times, you've got geekers, right? That come around early, right? They come around early wanting to cop some stuff, right? So with that being said, they're looking for their next, and they'll come early sometimes. And if you ain't getting up till 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the day, and this person, this person that, affiliates theirself with your place and where they can pick up some illegal substance stuff, then sometimes you'll have these stragglers come through real early in the morning, hoping to, bang on the door and get themselves a little something. And, usually you have to leave them outside, right? You got to leave them outside. Sometimes you have to say something to them, like when they do finally come back, after you're up and dressed and ready and unloading whatever you unload. You have to tell them, hey, man, you can't be coming around that early pounding on the damn doors and shit, dude, you need to call. You need to call first, right? Don't be doing that shit no more. You know, don't be coming around beating the doors down and stuff. That's just, can't be having that. And then, they might listen, they might not. They might be back. Who knows? But they're a nuisance, right? They're a nuisance. You always get those nuisance that don't know when to show up and when not to. And with that being said, it's very possible that somebody like that showed up that morning and walked off with the kids. They could have told the kids, your parents ain't up yet, do you need me to run you to school, or your parents said, hey, they're not up yet, but I need to drop you off at school. They could have walked away with the kids. Somebody could have came there for something and left with those kids that morning. Grandma's laying down sleeping, and the other ones are inside sleeping. The kids are outside, vulnerable to anybody coming around, and that person may have just took those kids off. It's very plausible. It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time something like that happened, right? I mean, look at the one case where the weirdo lived out back, a friend of the family's, right? A friend of the dad's lives out back, and he's the one that, destroyed the man's daughter. He's the one that took, that got the daughter and destroyed the man's daughter. So, you got these weirdos living and coming around. Your kids are targets. They're targets for these people. And that's very possible. That's very possible of what happened. Maybe these people don't know who took the kids, but they're pretty sure, what kind of people took them, right? I don't know. I don't think they went poof, PG's little girl. I think someone took them. I really, in my opinion, one or two things happened to those children. One would be, one would be that the stepdad and the mom, knows what happened. They let the kids get into some illegal stuff or something. They shared it, and they both perished, and they had to put them to rest somewhere, and can't tell it because they'll go to prison, or they got very abusive. I heard that those kids were being abused pretty good up in there. I don't know how true it is, but allegedly they were abusing Jack and Lily pretty good. Did anybody else hear that? Because I just heard that. I heard that they was up in there really abusing these kids. Witnesses have come up and said, that they were really mean and abusing those two kids. They didn't have the good life we think they did. That's what I heard. Allegedly, I heard it, right? That's what I was hearing. Hey, Ruby, I appreciate that, girlfriend. I appreciate it. God bless. APG and E, everyone. God bless, girl. I appreciate it. I appreciate you supporting Summer's channel. But yeah, I don't see Daniel as evil like Don and Candace, but he could be. My mom looks evil. The mom looks evil. Do you know, I'm going to tell you, don't let looks deceive you. Don't let looks deceive you. I'm going to tell you some of the most evil people in the world. Everybody loves them, right? Everybody loves them. Matter of fact, some of the most evil people in the world uh, are like pillars of the community, right? They're pillars of the community, pillars of the church, pillars of the community. Everybody, oh, he's so nice. Oh no, he couldn't have did that, right? Everybody thought they was just the nicest person, and come to find out there was nothing nice about them, right? I mean, I don't let looks deceive me. Absolutely not. You know, um, you know, we haven't seen Daniel behind the scenes. We haven't seen, the Daniel that parties hard with, with the mom, and you know wants to, um ravish in his, in his, you know cloud nine. It's cloud 9, 10, 11, 12. Hell, I don't fucking know how high he goes, but he wants to be up there ravishing. And there ain't nothing worse than having screaming kids and a bunch of chaos breaking out when you're out to have a good time, and you can't, right? You can't, because of all this commotion, kids and commotion and everything. And when these people are all, messed up like that, they can get awful ugly. They can get very, very ugly, because they're wanting to do them, and they don't want to be doing you if you're a child. And it can become very toxic and very abusive. And not only that, but these are people who want to lay in bed and to, stink the place up to 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the day back there. And, and these kids, like little Summer and the Wells boys, they're getting no breakfast. They're getting no lunch. I mean, these kids are up. They're freaking hungry. They're getting no food. Grandma out there in the camper ain't feeding them. Mommy and daddy ain't feeding them. Nobody's damn feeding them. Right? Nobody's up taking care of these children. They're not in school to get any breakfast. They're not in school to get no lunch. They probably get, like the Wells kids, they probably got a slice of pizza thrown at them, in the evening. Maybe a bowl of soup, a few fucking crackers, maybe a bag of chips. These kids wasn't really getting, nobody was caring or properly taking care of these children. And, God knows what happened. God only knows what happened. But, if they didn't do something to the kids, or the kids didn't get into some illegal stuff, and they had to, go and lay them to rest somewhere, to keep from going to prison, then I think it's a very good possibility that some weirdo came up here looking for some stuff. They also heard the kids and went around to the back, and maybe, seen an opportunity to, walk off with them babies and do some sinister stuff, and God knows where they're at. That's my opinion. But I don't like the way that, the stories have been changing. At the beginning, it was supposed to be the mother. It was supposed to be the mother saying, Daniel, do you hear the kids? He says, no. So they get up and they go looking and the kids are missing. Then Daniel says, no, it was me telling the mother, do you hear the kids? And her saying no. And then he went looking. So, we've heard a couple of different stories on this stuff. I mean, that's bullshit within itself. Because I'm going to tell you, the truth don't change. The truth does not change. And shit was changing right at the beginning. So, that's suspicious right there. That's suspicious. Just saying. Yeah, their stories change. And with mommy running off in the middle of everything, old mommy jumped, she, the squad, she got in the squad, she gets out of the squad, she grabs her baby and her mom and her mommy and takes off, right? They take off. She doesn't stay there. She doesn't give her mom the baby to take home with her so that she can stay there and look for her children, figure out what happened to her children. I want to find my children. No. She gets out of that squad, she gets mommy and her baby, and she takes the hell off. That tells me she already knew what happened to her babies, if you ask me. That's just my opinion, that she already knew. Because if she didn't know what really happened to her children, I think she would have gave the baby to her mother, and she would have stayed there and done everything she could to try to locate her kids and bring them home. That's just my opinion, I think that her taking off the way she did was a calling card to, she already knew what. Kind of like Don and Candace not doing, handing out flyers, didn't want the billboards, didn't want the reward. It's like, why they didn't want none of that because they already know what happened to Summer, right? They were telling law enforcement where Summer wasn't, so they must have knew where she was, kind of thing. And when you get these kind of calling cards, then you pretty much can establish that, these motherfuckers already know what happened. They're guilty as hell. They know what happened, and they're just trying to keep their asses out of prison, right? You pretty much can, can call out the way it is. And that's my opinion. I'm allowed to have that, but that's my opinion. Just saying. But I'm going to tell you, I don't really know exactly what went down here. I just know that, there's some telltale signs going on. But look at this place. What the fuck? They should get something, move that mountain back. They should move that mountain back. This is insane right here. And, I don't know if this lady, I don't know if, I kind of think this lady would lie. I think she would lie. And the reason I say that I believe she would lie is because she did lie. She said, I don't like my picture taken. I don't like videos. I don't like videos taken of me. I don't want people seeing me or knowing who I am. I don't like videos. I don't like pictures. But she's sitting there. Look. She's sitting there for these people that's going to put her out, not to a community, not to, not to a few friends, not to, just a certain state. These people are going to put her out to the whole world, right? These people that were there, they're going to put her out to the whole damn world. And if you really, was that way, if you weren't lying and you really was the way you're saying, you wouldn't be, you wouldn't be doing this. You wouldn't be doing this, And you might, like I said, you might want to set the record straight, but you want to do it off camera, right? You would want to do it off camera. If That's just my opinion. Yeah, kind of like Grandis, you know. Exactly. Exactly. Just like Grandis. Yeah, that's her backyard. Yeah, that's the backyard. She got chickens back there, and she got a big old. There's old boy. There's old boy right there. Look at him. He's wearing red shoes. He's wearing red shoes and a red hoodie. Says "Just do it." That was just a "Just do it" picture. See that? And it looked like he got girl shoes on. Look at that. It looked like some female chick shoes on. Like, looks like some girls' flats. It looks like he's wearing some girls' flats. Am I right or not? Tell me. Tell me those are not some women's flats. He looks like he's wearing his mother's shoes. Straight up. That looks like he's wearing his mom's shoes. Put a one in the chat if that looks like some women's freaking flats he's got on right there. I promise you, man, I got some shoes like, they ain't red, but I got some shoes like that. I got some mother freaking shoes like that. They're flats. You know, I got some, cream color ones and some black ones, and I got some different. I ain't got no red ones. I got a pair of red high heels that go with my red dress, but I ain't got no mother freaking red flats like that. Yeah, for real. I mean, I think old boy's wearing some chick's shoes. Just saying. What the hell is up with that? What's up with that? Somebody needs to call him. Somebody needs to call him and say, hey, what's up with the chick shoes on your feet? Look at that. And look, he's got black pants on, black socks. He's dressed like a girl. You know how you wear the white top and the white socks, like you wear a pair of jeans with your white socks, your white top, and then your white flats or your black flats. You know what I'm saying? He dressed like a girl. Sometimes you have on your black pants, and your little black knee highs, right? And your black flats, and then a pink top or something, to look real pretty, a different color top. Yeah, looky there. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I don't know. He just out having a walk. Just do it. That's what I say. Just do it. Tell the truth. Just do it. Look at this. Oh, look inside that camper. Take a look at it. Is that whole window gone? I think that whole window might be gone right there. The one window got a hole in it with that pipe sticking out. I ain't sure if there's a, look like there ain't no window right there next to it. I don't know. Might be, but I don't think it is. Look at that door. It's all cracked right there. Oh, damn, they ain't even know. How the hell you shut that thing? I don't even see no handle. Like somebody ripped the whole handle out. What's going on with that? Look at that. Man, it's time to get a new camper. Don't you guys think it's time to get a new camper? That's what I think. There's old boy. He's out in the woods with police. He's out there. They're talking to him. Look at the cop looking at him like, boy, don't play that shit with me. I seen people look like you before. Yeah. I'm not going to buy it today. I'm not buying it today. I got to keep my 2 cents in my pocket. Yeah. That's where the cop right there is looking at him. Take a look. That cop right there with the glasses on. He like, He ain't buying none of that shit. There's the 2 babies. There's your two babies right there. Ain't they beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. I think that little boy's got a mark on his chin right there. Those are two beautiful children. You know, reminds me of little Jack and Jill, right? Jack and Jill went up the hill. That's what they remind me of. Why couldn't they just give these babies? I mean, why couldn't they just give them to somebody? Why didn't she just take them to uh, their dad's mother's house and say, "Here's your kids, take care of them. I gotta go." Right? I would do that before before I did anything else. I mean, if you didn't want the kids, God have mercy, give them to someone who does. You know, I do that. These people are horrible, man. They're horrible how they. And then we got this grandmother, the step grandmother, saying, "Oh, in my heart, I know these kids are alive. I believe they're alive in my heart." Because, as long as in her heart they're alive, she can believe her old boy's innocent, right? She can believe old boy's innocent. As long as the kids, she feels they're still alive. She can feel her son's innocent. But the maternal grandmother, on the biological dad side, she's like, I think my grandkids are no longer with us. I think something horrible happened. I think that, they've been hidden away, right? Just like Summer. They've been hidden away to keep people from going to prison. I don't think they're with us anymore. They're out there somewhere. But I don't think I think they're online, wherever they're at. So, we got that conflicting interest between the two grandmothers there. And it's hard to say what the mother's mother is thinking, because just like her daughter, she's pretty much keeping her mouth shut, right? She's keeping her mouth shut, keeping her daughter's mouth shut. It's just how it is. And, and these, what's really sad? What's really sad? Mommy runs off right day one, ain't even looking for him. That's why I believe she knows, they already know what happened. They're not even looking. And to be honest with you, I also believe that it's a good possibility that mommy's guilty, because I'll tell you why. She was out partying. Like Leilani. Like Leilani was out partying. She's already been at the beach with girlfriends and already back to her old shit, right? To her old shit. Not thinking about her kids, not looking for her kids, not cooperating with law enforcement about her children. But she's already, left all of this behind and kind of moved on and enjoying her freedom again, right? Enjoying that freedom. She feels like a weight's been taken off of her, and she's 16 again and free, free to really, get out there and probably mess up having some more kids, and hopefully hopefully it don't end like this time, but she's out there trying to possibly get some more, and that don't look right either. That doesn't look right either, because no mother's going to stop looking for her children. No mother, is just going to waltz off the way she did and stop, and start partying and like Leilani, was waltzed off and partied and done all because she already knew what happened to Quentin. And then, that's a telltale sign. It's, it pretty much tells you from day one that these parents are guilty as hell. you know, just by their own actions. By their own actions. Just saying. But these two children, they did not deserve what happened to them. Absolutely not. No child does. And justice needs to be served. I hope law enforcement figures this case out. I hope they do all they can to bring the guilty parties forth. And I hope those guilty parties get the punishment, a good punishment that fits the crime. That's, you know, that's what I pray for. That's just the way it is. But we also got a lot more going on, right? And in Summer's case, we got good old Tim Mullins, obviously, because I hear he's the one that runs, allegedly he's the one that runs Find Summer Wells. And if that's so, then old Timmy boy is, you know, putting out Josie, the Kingsport City High School has accepted you. A great biology department. We are doing our best to get you home. Wow. Wow. I don't think this child wants to come home, Tim. Why don't, you know, instead of going to the school, Tim, and seeing, you know, seeing if they got a space for this child, you know, that's going to end up not needing it once he goes to 110 Ben Hill Road, where he's got two parents that are, you know, users and abusers, and they're going to hinder everything because they don't want to see anyone succeed because they didn't ever succeed. So they're not, you know, they're going to put a whole big monkey wrench in this. They already was, you know, feeding the child illegal substances, according to, you know, witnesses who said they saw the Don and them, you know, handing illegal stuff to children, and you know, and trying to ruin their whole entire life at a very young age. How much more would they try to ruin it at the age the boy is now? I mean, I think that, you know, I think the boy should stay where he's at. He's in a much better place. Why don't you go ask the boy if he even would like to come home? If he wanted to come home, he wouldn't be looking for a forever home somewhere else, Tim. This kid was on camera saying, I'm looking for a forever home out there. I hope I find one. Meaning, I'm looking for a forever home away from the horrible home I once had. He wasn't saying I want to go home. He said, I'm looking for a forever home somewhere else. What part of that did you not understand, Tim Mullins? What part did you not understand? That's my question. But that's what's going on in the Summer Wells case, you guys. You know, I don't think any child should ever be returned to those monsters. That's just my opinion. I'm going to keep it. Until they can clear themselves as suspects in Summer Moon Utah Wells case, their own missing daughter's case, I don't think no child should ever be allowed to come back upon that property. Just saying. They didn't remove those kids just to hand them back before the parents clears themselves. And that place still ain't fit. That place still ain't fit for a dog, let alone a child. Just saying. That's my opinion. And then over in Alabama, there's just a big bust over in Alabama. This sheriff right here says, I've been in law enforcement for 33 years, and this is absolutely the most horrifying I've ever seen when it comes to the victimization of children. I know God is forgiving and boundless, But if there was a limit to it, I think we've reached it. They had children there in a bunker, in a weird looking bunker. Right there it is in the middle there with the bed and the stuff, the fan. And they had these children in this bunker looking thing. Some of them, you know, zip tied and chained and all kinds of stuff, I guess. You know, allegedly they had them down in there. And law enforcement said that these children were ages 3 to 10 years old. There were 10 or 11 of them, and they were being severely abused by these people right here. Take a good look at each one of them. Does that remind you of Ben Hill Road? Put a 1 in the chat if that reminds you of Ben Hill Road right there. Because it sure to hell reminds me of Ben Hill Road. Right? It reminds me of Jody Sue's, Laura's, Andy's, Fred Hill's, Don, Candace's, Grandis's, and a few other freaks hanging around, right? That's what it reminds me of. Just saying. Just saying. You know, I don't think any of them look as bad as Andrew, right? I don't think any of them look as bad as he does, but I think they're all just as bad. You know, just as bad, to be honest. These are some really mentally disturbed human beings that just don't know how disturbed they are. But they're all, you know, they're all busted now. They're all busted by law enforcement. They're all going to prison for a very long time. And the sheriff there said that he truly believes that there's going to be many more victims we're going to find out about, and many more of these type of people right here involved in all of this. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Right. Right, Nicole's? They do. They remind me of the suspects in Summer's case as well. Very horrible. Very horrible. Victims ages 3 to 10 years old. And they were a whole lot of victims. Very seriously abused. And like, it was too graphic. It was too graphic to even, you know, to even tell, to even, you know, explain to humans. That's how bad it was. What they did. What they done. Yeah. And you know what? I hope they get life. I hope they get life so they cannot ever come back out and hurt another child again. Hopefully they get life. Because that was extensive abuse upon these children. One as young as 3 years old. Hopefully that carries a lifetime sentence. And like they said, they're sure there's a lot more. And also, there was a case over in where those 3 girls, there was some house. Remember the 3 girls that were the school bus driver had these 3 girls locked up inside their home and really being extensively abusive to one particular girl in there. And then he had kids by the other girls. Yeah. Anyhow, there was another house in that same place where someone reported someone inside being abused, and law enforcement went in because of the other case. They went into this house earlier in the day, and then they couldn't find nothing. They came back. They were called back that evening to that house, and this time they went in and they found a victim in there. You know, uh, actually, he had stumped her in a tote, and in a little tote, and put other totes on top of her, and they had to dig her out. And she was paralyzed because he crunched her and put her into a tote. But I guess he was seriously abusing her. And it was an older lady that he was abusing. I thought it was probably the owner of that home, and he wasn't supposed to be there. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it was in Ohio, Amanda. I think it was, or maybe some, I can't remember. I just remember seeing that particular case, with those girls, because they made a Lifetime movie, of the one that got severely abused. And the other two girls really didn't want to talk. They just wanted to move on and not really, have talk or anything. They kind of ran away from it all. But anyway, I wanted to go over some other cases as well tonight, but we've ran out of time, you guys. We've ran out of time, and I got to go. I got to get out of here because today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday, and I thank God for Monday. I thank God for Monday. I thank God for every day. But Mondays are the start of the week, and it seems, you can get off to a rough start. You can get off to a rough start if you don't get your rest. So I'm going to try not to get off to a rough start tomorrow, and I don't want none of you getting off to a rough one as well. We all got to get up. We got to work. We got bills to pay, right? We all got bills to pay. So I'm going to get out of here, let you guys get some rest, and PG's going to get some rest as well. But I appreciate each and every one of you coming in here tonight, hanging out, and, listening and going over the cases that, that have been in the spotlight all week. And hopefully, we'll stay in the spotlight. We'll stay in the spotlight until these kids are found, brought home, justice is served. And, and let us not ever forget any of the victims, because all of this is about the victims. Everything is about the victims, not the suspects. The suspects, the people evil enough to do crimes like this, well, they need to be locked away from society and forgotten about, remembered no more for their evilness. But the victims, they should always have a spotlight in this world, and people remember them. People should remember them, and people should remember them for why. People should remember them because they were good, beautiful, innocent people who got took away way too soon when they shouldn't have. And we also learn a lot. We learn a lot by keeping them in the spotlight. We learn our children to be careful, to be on guard, to not let these things happen again. You always want to keep history in the spotlight so it does not repeat itself. When things are, when things are broken, we need to fix it. We need to fix it. And I'm going to tell you, our system's broken. It has failed all of these children that are missing. Child Protective Services had a hand in there, and they could have prevented it, and they didn't. Law enforcement could prevent a lot of things. They don't. Our court systems can prevent a lot of things, and they don't. That's my opinion. I think, laws could be tougher. They could be better. They could do more. And most of all, like with the Idaho 4, there should be some type of rules. There should be some type of rules for people renting homes out to college students. There should be mandatory surveillance, mandatory alarm systems, mandatory that all locks on windows and doors work. And they should always be locked. I don't care if you feel like you live, in paradise by yourself. Lock the doors. I don't care how safe you think it is. Lock the windows and the doors. Set the alarm system. Keep cameras. Keep video cameras. Protect yourself. Protect yourself at all costs. We could do more. We could do more to save lives. We can make things mandatory to save lives. Just saying. And if these houses are not in proper working order, then I think that whoever owns that place should, be able to come back on. They should be able to be coming back on for not providing a secure dwelling for innocent humans. Just saying. Nothing is safe, but if those doors would have been locked and alarm systems set, well, Brian Kohlberger would have waked the whole neighborhood up. He'd have waked the whole neighborhood up trying to get in somewhere. And he would have ran. He would have ran instead of entering and doing what he did. Law enforcement can only do so much. Law enforcement is an afterthought. They're not the thought. They're an afterthought. What I'm saying is, law enforcement, you call law enforcement, it's going to take them time to get there. So they're an afterthought, and you are in the thought. So it's up to you to protect yourself until law enforcement can arrive. You need to be protecting yourself. And they give us a lot of tools. There's a lot of tools out there to protect yourself with. The first tools are door locks, slide bolts, deadbolts, window locks. You should have all the horns and whistles to keep your family safe. It's important to have everything. You really need to lock your windows down. You really need to educate yourself on what kind of window locks you have, how easy are they to open, maybe add some extra security to your windows, some extra security to your doors. Definitely have alarm system, that alerts you. Have cameras. You can open your phone. You can see who it is. You can see what they have. You can see how dangerous they are. You'll know how to, arm yourself and equip yourself. It pays. It pays. Don't be a serpent. Don't be a serpent or a snake. But you better be wise as one. You better be as wise in the world that you live in. or them snakes will get you. They'll get you. And I want all people to be safe. I want all people to be safe. You know, it's very important to go around and check your home. You got to be extra careful for people coming into your home as well. You got people running in and out of your home. Let me tell you something. You better be careful, because some people coming in and out of your home, they can unlock. Do you check all your windows every night to make sure they're locked down? You should, especially if you've had people running in and out of your house. You should always check all of your window locks, because some people you can't trust, and they'll open it planning on coming back through it. So make sure you always keep your keys away from people in a safe place, and always make sure that your windows and doors are locked. It's important. Don't trust humans, because a lot of humans cannot be trusted. Just saying. Listen, you guys, please keep the prayers going up for Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Keep them going up for Michael Vaughn, Sebastian Rogers. Keep them going up for Jack and Lilly Sullivan. Keep them going up for the families of the Idaho 4. I know the trial, everything's over with, but the pain, the hurt, the suffering, and all this tragedy that these families has been put through, it's still there. It's still there. So please send the prayers up to God that somehow He allows these people to find some comfort and peace in all of this. And pray for these babies. Pray that God allows us to find them, bring them home, and get justice for them some way, somehow. Because I know God can do it when no one else can. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much love.